Hey, look, in Psalm 27, it says, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. You prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemies. This is a huge idea because I'm sitting at a table. Now, say this was a dinner table and you're surrounded by hostility. You're surrounded by enemies. And yet the Lord comes and prepares a table for you. I went to a restaurant with my wife this week, and it's a nice place. And they had set the table with a tablecloth, and they had the salt and pepper here, and they had the napkin, and they had the place settings. They had a fork for the salad and a fork for the entree, that kind of thing. They brought in a steak knife, and as there's a butter knife, and that, so it was like prepared. Then when they brought the meal, it's called plating. The chef does a really good job, and they put this plate together, and the way that it's arranged is just really beautiful, colorful and fresh, and tasty and delicious and aromatic, and if you think about eating in the middle of you're surrounded by enemies, I've actually seen this in a war zone and I've seen it like even where we are here right now doing this broadcast, that when we had the flood of 93, the devastation from the mud and the silt and the death and just the foulness of all the what water had killed the bottoms of the trees. All the branches from the water line down were dead. Many of the trees died. The mud was and we would have to clean an area and serve as we brought volunteers in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the disorder, in the midst of the foulness of the moment. And it would be all sanitized and all beautiful, and the food would be delicious, and the food would smell good, and all the utensils were clean and very, and we had wash stations where we had to wash ourselves before we came into that environment. And God prepares a table for us, even in the midst of the trouble. You can just, God, you've got this covered. Because the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. Even though I'm in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall not fear. I fear no evil because you're with me. And God, you even prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. And what's that? It's provision in a hostile situation. It's like you're going through marriage problems, or you're having a conflict with your child, or you're going to a parent-teacher conference and there's some issues there, or you're at work and there's a clash. God's got you. He's got you covered. He has wisdom for you. He has his presence available to you. One of my favorite verses, in his presence there's fullness of joy, and in his right hand there are pleasures forevermore. So whenever God shows up on a situation, he brings stability, he brings clarity, he brings answers, he brings solution, he brings provision. He prepares a table for us in the presence of our enemies. So that's not like a bubble. A bubble is where you're so encased you don't even know your enemies are there. We know we're behind enemy lines in a fallen world. We know how the tempter tempts us and how challenging life can be. Yet, God has prepared something to offer and to help in every situation. Give us this day our daily bread. That would be that provision. I think about Revelation 3:20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and, get this, I will dine with him and he with me. I will dine with him and he with me. The other day, my son-in-law and daughter have been remodeling a home. They're 99% there, and they just immediately, one of the first things they did, even before they've moved in, is called for a family night and brought us in. We had food there, And we just kind of, and they had a load of chairs, and, it was really, really something. It was at around sunset. So it was a beautiful evening, and it was just, there are a couple of new grandkids, and we were all there looking at them and having fun. And the table that was prepared, there was plenty, there was too much, and that's the nature of our God. He doesn't hold back, he gives, and he's not meager toward us. He's not weak toward us. He's not sparse toward us. He's a God of abundance. My God shall supply all of your needs, even in the midst of trouble, even in the midst of trouble. And I've found that to be the case over and over, even today. He gives us daily bread, even in the midst of our challenges. And I want to encourage you to open up the door of your heart, let him in. If you need to repent of anything, repent. If you need to get things right with anybody, apologize and sort it out. Keep the slate clean. Keep your heart right. Keep your heart with all diligence, because from it flow the issues or the springs of life. Remembering that you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. God bless you.